What are legal ways to make money that don't require a moral compass? Facilities maintenance dispatcher. I worked for a company that would sign on contractors and technicians, and our clients, stores like Walmart and CVS, would give us work orders for stuff they'd need done. A lock repair, a clogged toilet, lights are out, etc. We'd call the contractor and describe an issue and send them the work order. They'd go do the work while we'd constantly call and harass and badger them to get it done as cheaply, quickly, and well as possible. Sometimes sending techs into hurricanes to put sandbags at store doors. The company I worked for would be on billing terms and promise to pay the contractor company after 45-60 days. Most of our techs never got paid. I was technician resources, so I was responsible for taking calls from techs who wanted to complain. I would get hundreds of calls an 8-hour day, most of them saying they did thousands of dollars of work under contracts with us and they haven't seen a dime. It was essentially my job to tell them that our accountants couldn't take their call and a check is in the mail. Many techs would tell me that there were companies like ours all over the US and they all do the same scummy shit. If you get paid at all, it might be 6 months to a year later if not more. If you Google ServiceCom and read their reviews, you'll see. I'm comfortable saying that because they changed names and tax IDs and everything, and now have close to 0 online presence and no Google business listing. The company is listed as permanently closed on Google, but they're still scamming contractors to this day. I do not miss that job. I hated what I was doing even before finding out what a bunch of shit it was. Even more so now. Edit. Now SMG Holdings. I have also been told that what they are doing may in fact be illegal, but people can't seem to agree. I don't know. But they're a-holes. I worked for a place that tried that sort of work for a bit, as it seemed promising. Get a job to do 30 minutes of work, all the materials handled, in out, done. The biggest issue we had was that every one of those jobs was a 4-hour ordeal. Not because of the actual work part was generally 30-60 minutes, as expected. What sapped all our time was the log-in, log-out procedures and documentation. I get needing to have proof documented and needing a log-in, log-out time, sure. But rather than something automated you had to talk to a genuine human to get logged in or out, and apparently they only had one person doing it, as you sat on hold for 60-90 minutes waiting to tell the person you were about to start work or had completed it and were ready to leave, and the documentation wasn't approved until they received it, which apparently was done by our email being printed into a fax machine that was then telegraphed, translated to Braille, read aloud by a blind person to a parrot who then repeated it for a typist at the main office. Given how long it took them to approve what I sent them, I believe that company paid relatively quickly, or at least every 30 days, but losing 3 hours of working hours on something that barely paid enough to cover 1 hour just wasn't worth it. Holy shit, dude, and listen to this. These reviews are from subcontractors and not customers. If any of them had a clue as to what it takes to achieve success in this type of arena, they would be far more gracious. ServiceCom is a minority-owned business and amongst the fastest-growing service company in retail maintenance. The owner is amazing and driven to service her customers and pay her subcontractors. The problem is, what about the 5,000 subs that have built successful companies on the back of ServiceCom? Trust me, they are not leaving bad reviews, they are too busy running legitimate businesses. Shannon has never not paid a vendor, and takes pride in this company she has built from scratch. This is one of the only positive reviews, and it's by someone who literally knows the owner directly and is basically calling the contractors who are leaving negative reviews shady because they have the balls to ask to be paid for their work. I mean, they should be happy to have the honor in the first place. Right? They wouldn't have a business if it weren't for ServiceCom. God, I hate companies like this, literal grifters and thieves, whose grifting and thievery has gotten so big that they won't get in trouble anymore because they're rich. Fuck you, Joe Sirdi. Edit. What really bugs me is, what about the 5,000 subs that have built successful companies on the back of ServiceCom? What about them? Even if that were true, which I highly doubt, what does that have to do with the contractors who haven't gotten paid? Man, You've got me all riled up now. I hate this kind of shit lol. Step 1. Learn a little bit of programming and how to upload stuff to the mobile store. Step 2. Go to an asset flip website, forget what you knew most about programming, skip most of step 1, and finish a mobile game. Step 3. Preferably add every trick you see in a microtransaction game. Upload the game. Step 4. Hype your game up on as many subreddits and forums as possible. Step 5. Use any income to buy as many social media influencers as possible. Let the money flow. Note: all that matters is step 5. Sources: 1,500 slot machines walk into a bar. Let's go whaling. Check morality at the door. Having grown up in charismatic Christian culture, it's heartbreaking how many folks fall for it. Hell, I did. I was indoctrinated in that particular religious group before I was even out of the womb. Lots of good, hard-working, and otherwise intelligent people have fallen victim to this, and it's totally acceptable. Fucking sucks seeing it from the outside after having been in it. I see a lot of comments here and other public forums calling the believers stupid or rubes or some other generally negative and dismissive insult. I have to tell you, as someone from that culture who broke out, they aren't. This whole thing is a result of generational indoctrination, going back in some cases 5 or 6 generations. It is a deeply ingrained worldview, insular in many ways but with a toe dipped in the pool of popular culture, just enough to keep the kids interested. I've known doctors and lawyers, college professors, city council members, and well-educated local government officials who are lifelong charismatic and who have raised their children and grandchildren in this fashion. Your whole life, every aspect of it, is under scrutiny, while your entire support structure, family and friends, would take it as a personal attack if you espoused beliefs that even slightly varied from theirs. So, to folks who read the above comment and want to dismiss the practitioners, I ask that you judge the snake oil salesman in the $3,000 suit, not the folks who are victims of indoctrination and brainwashing. Former funeral home worker here. The funeral industry had a big scandal back in the 60s 70s of funeral homes unsling and overcharging by massive margins, so the government cracked down in the form of regulations. Let me be clear, each U.S. state has different laws and regulations for their death industry. But for the most part funeral homes are required to give you a full pricing sheet, no hidden fees, when they first meet you. If you do not receive a price sheet, immediately go to a different funeral home. They also cannot block you from purchasing your own casket, grave, tombstone, etc. from private sellers directly, and then you just providing the funeral home with them. Please keep in mind that most people who become funeral directors do so because they feel they are called to. It's not a glamorous, well-paid, or even in most cases a well-respected profession. Some people are born into the industry, family lineage, but most go in because some event happens that causes them to seek out an apprenticeship. There is a big difference between those people who are trying to give your loved one a respectful last hurrah and the people who own the funeral homes and probably step foot inside once a quarter to look at the books. How low on the compass do you want to go? Bill collector, repo man? If you really get low, you can become a collections attorney. We've got a great one here in Atlanta. He gets debts for pennies on the dollar, even the badly verified debt. I'm told he even looks up names on the internet, phone book that matches the city and name of debtor. He then goes and mass files lawsuits at the clerk's office, 2x a month, an average of 500 at a time. They send the proper notice and hearing date out, and about 60% of those don't reply or so. That means they lose automatically by default. Once the default has been recorded, he places a garnishment on their wages and then waits for them to contact him to settle. So he's usually got at least one paycheck from them at this point due to the garnishment. If they make any payment willingly, he uses it as proof that they own the debt, even if in fact they don't. But a payment plan of $100 a month for say 10 months is better than them not getting another paycheck and still under what typical attorney fees would be to fight it. Clerks at county court think he's lower than slime, but he makes an estimated 3/4 minus $1 million a year easy. Foreclosure rescue, aka equity stripping. You find a homeowner who's late on their mortgage but has equity, usually the elderly, and offer to hold the house in your name, pay off their mortgage and let them rent the house until they're back on their feet, and then you will give it back to them when they can qualify for a new mortgage to pay you back. The real goal is for them to default on the rent so you can evict them and keep the house as well as the equity, and they end up with nothing. Used to work in D2D sales, and the best way is not to answer the door. No selecting signs don't mean anything, or saying not interested does not hold water either. The only reason we are so persistent is because when we are not hitting numbers, we get fired, so on and so forth, rinse and repeat. It was good money, about $1,200 per week pre-tax, but it is a physically and mentally tough job. Teaches you a lot about people as well. I think the people who run those companies are worse. They bring in staff who are commission only and promise the world to them. All this bullshit of getting your own consignment and then training in new people. Staff turnover is huge and you never become a manager. It's all bullshit. I did it for a while after school and before college, and they were trying to tell to skip university, which at the time was free in my country. Good luck with that body. Surprisingly, a lot of old people have much better negotiation skills than people in their 20-30s and will see through you if you pressure them with sleazy tactics. However, if your product has better coverage than what they have at a lower price, then there's no need to sugarcoat it. Also, insurance agents have to have a clean record and are heavily regulated in my country. But yeah, the money is very good if you have a silver tongue. Sincerely, an insurance salesman. Edit, spelling. Step 1. Small firm with large capital reserves buys established company. Step 2. Gut company of every possible expense and then some. I.T. Massive layoffs. Move HQ to a shit area for as cheap as possible. Step 3. Survive short-term 1 quarter. While the quality of work suffers dramatically, they manage to stay in business due to their long-established reputation before the new reality catches up with them. Step 4. Report quarterly earnings highlighting massive profits as their revenue stayed roughly the same, but they dramatically decreased operating costs and expenses, leading to an insanely high profit margin. Step 5. Take the company public at valuation based off previous quarter, selling overpriced stock to unsuspecting general public. Step 6. Profit massively and walk away, setting the company up to crumble and burn while destroying the livelihoods of everyone involved. They essentially buy, gut, and sell companies by taking them public, ruining it for all the employees and customers in order for a small group to make a large profit at the cost of so many others. Despicable but perfectly legal practice. Honestly, they are so easy to get rid of, they don't even bother me anymore. As soon as I open the door, before they even start to speak, I just tell them the truth that fits their best interest. Look man, I know time is money for this kind of sales, so I'm not gonna waste yours. I'm not interested in buying, and I'm not gonna waste your time pretending like I will just for the sake of seeming polite. Good luck with the rest of your day. Goodbye. I've had roommates that feel the need to let them down softly, and honestly I think it's best to just avoid wasting everyone's time. Be direct, but polite, works every time for me. Most of them aren't really terrible people. They just got roped onto a shit job and hate it. I once saw this golden piece of advice on Dogecoin last year. How I made $150,000 in a single weekend. Friday, ask dad for a $300,000 loan for starting my own business. Saturday, invest $300,000 in Dogecoin at 60 cents per. To buy the dip after seeing price drop from 78 cents earlier that evening. Sunday, paper hands panic sell in the morning at 30 cents, then transfer remaining $150,000 to personal savings account. Monday, block dad's phone hash, change personal cell hash, move to a different state. Start a charity against something everyone hates. Collect money from people who want to feel good about themselves by doing nothing. Pay your executives most of it. Do nothing of tangible effect with the advertised goal, but appear to be real busy fighting it when anyone looks. See also, cancer charities, the unhoused, missing/foreign/underprivileged children, Anti-terrorism/war. How have we not fixed it yet? Oh right, lots of people make money shadowboxing it forever and would lose out on that if they actually did their job and fixed it. $100? The group you're managing the pages for is making millions. Sign up for affiliate programs. Find a high-dollar offer. Figure out what that offer's customer looks like. Set up social media on all the platforms. Direct the customers from social media to an email sign-up. Set up an autoresponder for that email list. Convince those people that your solution is the best solution through multiple automated emails spread out over days. Then hit them with the offer. David Ogilvy wrote the book on direct marketing. The tools are different, but the methods stay the same. Sell extended warranties to things without actually covering anything. If you write the contract sneakily, you can get people to pay for a warranty that won't pay out unless something astronomically unlikely occurs. Bonus points for targeting the old and mentally feeble. Require that they show up in person and listen to a 1-hour speech if they decide it's a scam and want to cancel. BTW, this is what those extended warranty calls for your vehicle are about, although spam calling is illegal. Extended warranties are the absolute worst. I bought an exotic car and got a warranty because I figured I would need it. Fact of the matter is that I did need it 6 months later when I had catastrophic engine failure. I called the warranty company after reading my terms of service, which I was within bounds to get a replacement engine. They quickly prompted me that I was not covered at all. I bickered back and forth explaining them the contract and how I was covered legally. They hung up and blocked my number and cancelled my plan. It was a big deal for a minute. Come to find out that the company was super shady but is still operating somehow but has a few class action lawsuits. I almost filed one but repaired the damn car myself. Remember the mortgage-backed securities scam that crashed the global economy in the 2000s? Still legal to sell people mortgages they can't afford, bundle them as securities which you also sell, then hedge against their failure when the people who you knew couldn't pay those mortgages default on them, tanking the securities, too, and you make a killing collecting your insurance while the world goes up in flames. Banks get taxpayer bailouts and Congress decides not to make any of that illegal. I used to design packaging for porn CDs. It was for a company that sold boxes of 100 porn CDs to convenience stores. They sold it to the store for $250 and the stores would sell them for $10 a piece for $1,000 for the box. They could charge whatever they wanted, but that was the pitch. Back then I did a package, case slipcover and discard, in print-ready PDF format. They sent me 100 DVDs at a time and I charged $200/package, $20,000, for a month. After hours, work of screen grabs from porn DVDs and a shit ton of InDesign/Illustrator/Photoshop work. It was almost 20 years ago but 2 years of it almost paid for my house. My wife used to scan the DVDs for best shots to use and type in the details from the titles for the covers while I used that to work up the packaging. We'd be sitting around in nothing but towels getting all porned up and once we were too worked up to work we'd go at it. I always thought she was getting as hot up from the money we were making as from the porn. Hoarding domain names. Own a business? Look up competitors in your area, check to see if they have a website, specifically if they have a website where the domain is business name .com or something similar. If the domain is unregistered, register it and reroute traffic through that site to your website. People looking them up and clicking on their website will be sent to yours, and they're more likely to just use your services than try to hunt down the competitor to figure out their services and pricing. If you don't have a business, you can do something similar. You won't be rerouting the websites to anything, unless you want to, just buying and holding the domain name. You can do it with anything. See a TikToker or YouTuber that's starting to gain some traction? Buy their username. Business just opened and didn't set up a website yet? Buy it. You find out that someone who does own a domain somehow lapsed on their domain payment? Buy that shit the fuck up. The people who want the domains, who have some money to burn, will pay a decent amount for them. especially if they've got some level of fame or had an already existing website. They contact you but won't meet the price you want. Well, now the domain they wanted to buy redirects to Top Girl. Have fun with that being associated with you. Tekim Tokerson.